Volcanoes are a force of nature that can be incredibly destructive. Unfortunately, in susceptible areas, they are a cause of concern, especially for communities located in close proximity. But what are the most dangerous volcanoes on each continent? All volcanoes aren't created equally. There are some that are quite sedate and slow eruptors, while there are some that are massive giants who are violent and spew volcanic debris for hundreds or even thousands of miles. There are three main types of volcanoes: shield volcanoes, stratovolcanoes, also known as composite cone volcanoes, and cinder cone volcanoes. All of these types of volcanoes occur at either divergent plate boundaries, plates that split apart, subduction-induced convergent boundaries, where an ocean-ocean or a continental-oceanic plate come together, or individually at mantle plumes, which create surface expression hotspot volcanoes. Shield volcanoes are broad and gently sloping, formed by the eruption of low-viscosity basaltic lava that flows easily over great distances. Examples include Mauna Lea and Mauna Kea, as well as Kilauea in Hawaii, which are both associated with the mantle plume hotspot system. Cinder cone volcanoes are the smallest type, formed by the accumulation of volcanic debris from a single vent, creating a steep, cone-shaped hill. Usually, these types of volcanoes can form abruptly, such as Paracatin in Mexico, which erupted continuously from 1943 to 1952 before it became extinct. Finally, stratovolcanoes, also called composite cone volcanoes, are steep, conical, and composed of alternating layers of lava and pyroclastic material. They often produce explosive eruptions and include famous examples like Mount St. Helens and Mount Fuji, and they're mostly found on convergent plate boundaries. These three types of volcanoes happen all around the world, but some, especially stratovolcanoes, are more dangerous. Also, each continent has at least one dangerous volcano that can be problematic, especially to communities that are in close proximity to them. Let's start on the smallest continent of Australia, or geologically speaking, Oceania. The country, continent, nation of Australia does have extinct volcanoes from the past, but is void of any active ones. However, its oceanic eastward neighbor of New Zealand is located on the eastern side of the Australian tectonic plate. Because of this, the island nation is seismically and volcanically active. In February of 2011, Christchurch, New Zealand experienced a magnitude 6.2 earthquake, which caused considerable damage and resulted in 185 deaths. But besides earthquakes, volcanoes are rife within the island chain, and there are 8 active ones. Mount Ruapehu, the highest volcano in New Zealand, is one of the most active and dangerous in the country. Sitting in the heart of Tongariro National Park, it has a long history of violent eruptions, with its most recent activity in the 2000s. What makes Ruapehu particularly hazardous is its crater lake, which can trigger devastating lahars, fast-moving volcanic mudflows capable of sweeping away roads, bridges, and entire villages. The 1953 Tangawai disaster, where a lahar destroyed a railway bridge, led to a train derailment that killed 151 people. Beyond lahars, Ruapehu also produces explosive eruptions, ash clouds, and toxic gases, threatening popular ski resorts on its slopes and communities in the region. With its unpredictable nature and potential for widespread destruction, Mount Ruapehu remains one of the most closely monitored volcanoes in the southern hemisphere. In Antarctica, Mount Erebus, the continent's most active volcano, is a rare and extreme geological wonder that poses unique dangers despite its remote location. Standing at over 12,000 feet on Ross Island, it has a persistent lava lake, one of the few in the world that constantly releases toxic gases and occasional explosive eruptions. What makes Erebus particularly hazardous is its violent phreatomagmatic activity, where molten lava interacts with ice and water, creating powerful steam-driven blasts that can hurl volcanic bombs miles away. The erratic nature of these eruptions, combined with the region's harsh and unforgiving environment, makes scientific research and monitoring incredibly challenging. While it doesn't threaten large populations like other volcanoes, Erebus remains a major risk to researchers, aircraft, and anyone daring enough to venture into its volatile, ice-covered landscape. Asia, Earth's largest continent, is home to a very high concentration of stratovolcanoes, thanks to its location on the western side of the Pacific Ring of Fire, where there are numerous amounts of ocean-ocean convergence boundaries creating subduction zones. One interesting tidbit is that the present-day Himalaya Mountains, home to the highest peak in the world, Mount Everest, doesn't have any active volcanoes. This is because the Indian subcontinent plate is colliding with the Eurasian plate, which creates a continental-continental convergent boundary, which does produce severe earthquakes, but no volcanoes because neither plate can sink into the mantle and create convection. But back to talking about volcanoes. Mount Merapi, Indonesia's most active volcano, is one of the most dangerous in the world due to its frequent and explosive eruptions. Located near the densely populated city of Yogyakarta, it regularly produces deadly pyroclastic flows, fast-moving clouds of superheated gas and ash that can destroy everything in their path. Its eruptions, like the devastating one in 2010 that killed over 350 people, can send lava, ash, and toxic gases into surrounding villages, forcing thousands to evacuate. What makes Merapi particularly hazardous is its unpredictability, with eruptions occurring every few years, sometimes with little warning. Despite its dangers, millions of people live in its shadow, relying on the fertile volcanic soil for farming, making it a constant balancing act between risk and reward. Scientists do closely monitor Merapi, but its volatile nature ensures it remains a serious threat. In Africa, the second largest continent, there are many volcanic threats, with the convergent boundary connecting North Africa to Europe, hotspots, and divergent boundaries. Most of Africa's volcanoes are associated with divergent plate boundaries, where tectonic plates are pulling apart. This occurs in the East African Rift System and the Red Sea Rift, leading to the formation of rift valleys in volcanic activity. The African plate is rifting away from the Somali plate, allowing magma to rise and form volcanoes. Mount Nyiragongo, located in the Democratic Republic of Congo, is one of the world's most dangerous volcanoes, due to its unusually fast-moving lava and its proximity to the city of Goma. Unlike most volcanoes, Nyiragongo's lava is extremely fluid, capable of reaching speeds of up to 60 miles an hour when flowing down its steep slopes, far too fast for people to outrun. Its 2002 eruption sent rivers of lava into Goma, destroying thousands of homes and displacing hundreds of thousands of residents. More recently, in 2021, another eruption caused widespread panic, killing dozens and forcing mass evacuations. Beyond lava, Nyiragongo is a major source of toxic gases and seismic activity, which could one day trigger an even greater disaster. With millions of people living in its shadow, this volcano remains one of the most closely monitored in the world. In the Western Hemisphere, South America, primarily its western side, is incredibly prone to earthquakes, volcanoes, and tsunamis due to the Nazca Plate, an oceanic plate, subducting below the South American Plate, a continental one. This interaction has created the Andes Mountains, which are among the highest range in the world. Nevado del Ruiz, located in Colombia, is one of the most dangerous volcanoes in South America due to its deadly combination of ice and fire. Towering over 17,000 feet, it is capped with glaciers that make its eruption particularly catastrophic. When it erupted in 1985, the heat rapidly melted its ice, triggering massive lahars, volcanic mudflows that buried entire towns. The worst hit was Amaro, where over 23,000 people lost their lives in one of the deadliest volcanic disasters in history. Even small eruptions pose a major risk, as the volcano sits in a region prone to heavy rainfall, increasing the chances of mudslides. Nevado del Ruiz remains highly active, with frequent seismic unrest and gas emissions, keeping its scientists on high alert. Given its history and the many communities still living nearby, it remains one of the most closely watched volcanoes in the world. On to North America, the Pacific Northwest is prone to volcanoes due to the Juan de Fuca Plate, an oceanic plate, subducting below the North American Plate, a continental one, which has created the Cascade Mountains. The 1980 Mount St. Helens eruption was the most destructive in U.S. history, with a massive landslide, pyroclastic flows, and ashfall that spread across multiple states. But Mount Rainier, north of Mount St. Helens and towering over 14,000 feet, is considered a larger threat, not because of frequent eruptions, but because of the sheer devastation it could unleash when it does erupt. Its biggest threat isn't lava or ash, but massive lahars, which have the capability of burying whole towns. Rainier's steep slopes are covered in glaciers, and if an eruption or landslide were to destabilize them, torrents of mud and debris could race down river valleys, reaching populated areas like Tacoma in hours. Scientists estimate that past eruptions send lahars as far as the Puget Sound, and with over 1 million people living in harm's way today, the risk is even greater. While Rainier hasn't erupted in over 1,000 years, its history and potential for destruction make it one of the most closely monitored volcanoes in the world. Last but not least, Europe, which is geologically part of the Eurasian plate, has several seismic and volcanic threats, particularly in southern areas. The oceanic part of the African plate, within the Mediterranean Sea, subducts below the oceanic segment of the Eurasian plate, creating the mountains of the region, including the stratovolcanoes of Italy. Mount Vesuvius, looming over Naples, isn't just the most dangerous volcano in Europe, it's perhaps the most dangerous in the world. Its explosive history, massive population exposure, and potential for catastrophic eruptions makes it a ticking time bomb. The infamous 79 AD eruption buried Pompeii and Herculaneum in a matter of hours, and while modern Naples has early warning systems, over 3 million people live in its direct hazard zone. Unlike some volcanoes that erupt predictably, Vesuvius is highly unpredictable, capable of producing sudden, violent explosions with little warning. Its last eruption in 1944 was relatively small, but scientists warn that a future event could be far worse, unleashing pyroclastic flows, ashfall, and deadly gases. With its past devastation and the sheer number of people at risk, Vesuvius remains one of the most heavily monitored and feared volcanoes on Earth. Predicting when a volcano eruption will occur is not easy. There are two ways to assess this: long-term predictions and short-term predictions. Long-term predictions tell geologists where volcanoes are most likely to occur, and this is quite obvious, as they happen in 3 general areas: along mantle plume hotspot systems, divergent plate boundaries, and convergent plate boundaries with subduction zones. Otherwise, any other place without these features is unlikely to see any volcanic activity. With short-term predictions, volcanoes are easier to foreshadow than earthquakes since they do give off signs such as change in shape, more gas and ash emissions, and temperature anomalies. In the months leading up to the catastrophic 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens, 2 USGS scientists, David Johnston and Don Swanson, played a crucial role in predicting the volcanic event. Johnston, a volcanologist, closely monitored the growing bulge on the mountain's north flank, which was expanding at an alarming rate due to rising magma. He warned that this deformation indicated an imminent eruption, potentially leading to a massive landslide and lateral blast. Swanson, a geologist, supported this prediction based on geological evidence of past eruptions, recognizing that Mount St. Helens had a history of explosive activity. Despite pushback from local officials and businesses eager to reopen the area, the USGS team insisted on maintaining the danger zone restrictions. Tragically, Johnson was stationed at the Coldwater 2 observation post on May 18, 1980, when the eruption struck, claiming his life but proving his prediction correct. And thanks to his predictions, the total death toll from the eruption was only 57, a lot less of what it would have been if the event wasn't foretold. In Italy, Mount Vesuvius is active and will erupt again, and given its unique human geographical area, it's a huge cause of concern. Italy's Vesuvius Observatory, run by the National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology, keeps a constant watch on Mount Vesuvius, tracking seismic activity, ground movement, and gas emissions, any of which could signal an impending eruption. Since millions of people live in and around Naples, officials have put together the Vesuvius Emergency Plan, which divides the area into risk areas and lays out evacuation routes. The goal is to give residents at least 72 hours notice to evacuate, with transport and temporary shelters ready to go. Strict building regulations also help prevent new construction in the most dangerous zones. Meanwhile, public awareness campaigns keep locals informed on what to do if the volcano erupts. But despite all these efforts, evacuating over 600,000 people from the most at-risk areas in time will be a massive challenge. So ongoing investment in disaster preparedness and response planning is absolutely crucial. While shield, cinder cone, and stratovolcanoes erupt frequently, there is another rare risk: superplume volcanoes. Superplume volcanoes are an extremely rare but potentially catastrophic geological phenomenon, driven by massive upwellings of hot mantle material that can fuel large-scale volcanic activity. Unlike typical volcanoes, superplumes originate deep within the Earth's mantle and can remain active for millions of years, leading to widespread volcanic events known as large igneous provinces. These eruptions, such as the Siberian traps and Deccan traps, have been linked to mass extinctions due to the release of immense amounts of lava, greenhouse gases, and sulfur aerosols, which can trigger severe climate change and ocean acidification. While no superplume volcanoes are currently erupting, some scientists believe that Iceland, Yellowstone, and the African superplume could be modern manifestations of this process. Though the likelihood of a superplume eruption in our lifetime is incredibly low, the consequences would be devastating, potentially disrupting global climate, agriculture, and ecosystems on a scale far beyond any volcanic event in recorded history. Every continent on Earth has volcanic dangers, and some are more threatening than others. Yet, volcanoes are some of the most stunning, yet most destructive forces on our planet. They will be with us for the course of humanity, so the only way to deal with their fury is to mitigate their effects. Usually, industrialized nations are better adapted with dealing with natural disasters, such as volcanoes. But developing nations are unfortunately the most prone to seeing worse outcomes, such as severe infrastructural damages and higher loss of life. So, mitigation efforts should be a worldwide priority, so that every nation is prepared. While advances in science have improved our ability to predict eruptions, challenge remains in effectively mitigating their impact. Understanding these powerful geological forces is crucial in minimizing devastation and ensuring communities can respond quickly when nature unleashes its fury. As we continue to study and monitor volcanoes, proactive disaster planning and global cooperation will be key to reducing risk and saving lives. That concludes this week's episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you want to leave your feedback, please do so in the comment section below. And if you enjoy learning about the world, you found the right channel. So be sure to subscribe to my channel, Urban to Earth, to view more videos. Until next time!